I want to say I think my guys did a great job on the isolation in this engine. Most of you know that we run the factory motor mounts and transmission mounts. A lot of conversions don't. That includes the full-size GM heavy-duty four-wheel drive dual stud transmission mount and the hydraulic engine mounts. These new Gen 5s run a different hydraulic engine mount. It's like a big can. It has liquid fill. So we did fit those to the Gen 5 swaps, and there's literally zero vibration in this vehicle. In the steering wheel, in the floorboard, in the dash, dead smooth. We're in 4-cylinder mode right now, and I can tell I'm in 4-cylinder mode more because of the sound of the exhaust than the vibration coming through the wheel. Very, very smooth engine. Feels very much like a Denali. And one of the side benefits of these LS is just how docile and relaxed they are. Now, you may want an aggressive pumped up engine like a Hemi with some rump, but that's not what this engine is. This engine is just, it's dead smooth, it's quiet, it feels like you're driving a Tahoe or a Denali. When you get on it, you got 430, actually I think we got more like 450 horsepower in this engine. So you get the best of both worlds, but it is definitely not an aggressive hot rod type engine. Very, very relaxed, very smooth. Even in 4-cylinder mode, very well behaved. I pioneered 4-cylinder mode back in the mid-2000s, and we ran many styles of mounts to try to get the vibration to a minimum. And running small block Chevy mounts or polyurethane mounts, it would just rattle your teeth going down the road. So we ended up retrofitting the GM hydraulic mounts to everything, including the transmission mounts. And with the right exhaust system, and we actually did run some GM mufflers that had the flap inside. So yes, there is a muffler bearing. The AFM was very tolerable. With loud exhaust systems like Flowmasters, dual exhaust, AFM just sounds really crappy. There's not a whole lot you can do about it. But with this Gen 5 right now, I think they're putting an auxiliary flapper in the exhaust. It's not in the muffler. And I've been driving some Camaros and Silverados, and I got to say, they got the 4-cylinder mode pretty much dialed. Now, we drove a Silverado with essentially the same engine that we're running here, and didn't run that good. Now, it ran good, but it didn't have the power this engine has. Felt a little dog-ear. Transmission was not shifting as much, and I think what it is I think they're running really tall gears in the production vehicles, like 320s, and they can do that with this 8-speed. So this is going to be something I want to look at, and that is maybe running 410s with 37s, and this 8-speed might come alive as far as the economy goes. So we just have to redo our thinking with all these gears. And driving the 16 Silverado and comparing it to the Jeep, this thing is a rocket, and I think a lot of that has to do with the gearing. So we're going to do some experimenting with that, and in the end, maybe you can run 373s, 410s with these big tires, still have the performance, but increase your mileage on the highway for trips. Well, it's pretty much holding 8th gear almost everywhere I've been around here, and it's interesting because I'm in tune to all the technology, the VVT, the direct injection, the torque converter. You know, with all this stuff going on, it's interesting to see we're holding this 8th gear, and the engine is working around it. The engine is phasing the cam and bringing cylinders in and out to get the best economy. I guess the question is, what's the end result? Is all that technology going to lead to better economy? I can tell you the drivability is excellent. I have no complaints about the drivability other than accelerating off the line. You get a couple of more shifts. Taller gearing may help that, but it may not be required, because if the overall result is similar economy to the 6L80, then I don't think you need the 8-speed. If the economy is better and the performance is better with the taller gearing, then the 8-speed might have an advantage over the 6L80. I just don't think we're going to see a double-digit improvement in mileage or performance. I think we're going to see some kind of improvement, but just not that dramatic. So in the end, the 6L80 may end up being continue to be a viable transmission for the future. But we'll know more as I drive more. I just wanted to say I can feel the technology in this motor working together to maximize economy, and I think manufacturers, not just GM, are having to work hard now to get these incremental improvements in economy and performance, because the days of the 70s, 80s, 90s, where the engines were grossly inefficient and the transmissions were inefficient, high friction, and poor gear spacing, those days are over. And by the 2000s, we pretty much got most of the gain with the early LS motors and VVT and all that. So now it's just incremental improvements by adding all this technology, and that's what this motor represents. It runs excellent. As far as the longevity, reliability, durability, I have a lot of faith in GM. So I feel these engines are going to be mature here very soon. They're cranking millions of them out. Right now, I think they're still new and going through development and improvements. But as far as the overall picture goes, making them more efficient than the Gen 4s, I'm not sure how much of a gain there's going to be there. There's probably going to be something. Now, I will say that the LSs, in general, especially the Gen 4s, have significant advantages over the other manufacturers, in my opinion. If you compare a Hemi to a Gen 4 LS, and you look at the size and the weight and the economy and the performance, the LS is a very versatile engine. There's engines that put out 280 horsepower, and there's engines that put out 700 horsepower. So just apples for apples, the Gen 4 engine doesn't have very many equals in the V8 world. There's some high-tech Coyote motors and flat crank motors and all that, but as far as a mass-produced production engine that's cranked out by the millions for trucks and performance cars, the Gen 4 LS was a hard engine to beat, and the LS3 has proven that point, not only in competition, but on the road. So the Gen 4 engine is going to be a tough act to follow. The Gen 4 engines are rationalized. They've been out for a decade. They're reliable as can be, and the Gen 5 is an incremental improvement on that. So they have some developing to go through. But driving this, I have no complaints about the drivability. It's actually very good to excellent, in my opinion. I did notice going up the steeper hills, like I'm about to go up to this hump to Pahrump right now, this 8-speed 6.2 just sails up the hill. There is no downshifting. It doesn't even feel like it's struggling like some of the smaller displacement V8s. So there's some benefit there. The question is how much. We'll be back. A little bit about this particular build. It's a 2015 Rubicon. I think he's got some ARBs in it. He's got lockers either way. Might have some axles, I don't remember. Rides pretty good off-road. Actually a very nice Jeep. He chose to go with the Camaro SS fan, and I don't blame him. I think the Camaro SS fan performs similar to the Pentastar fan, which he had, but it is a little bit quieter, and I think it's slightly more powerful than the Pentastar fan. Not a lot, but a little bit, and we support both. The control is very different between the Pentastar and the Camaro SS fan, but we use them both. This fan is being run by the GM computer, and I've been going uphill now for about 15 miles. Trans temps up to 185, which is nothing. It might be slightly higher than a 6L80 would be, but still it's nothing. The fan in this is controlled by the GM computer, and it's controlled exactly the way it would be in a factory vehicle. So it not only looks at vehicle speed, it also looks at transmission temperature, AC condenser pressure, and engine coolant temperature, as well as some other coefficients. But it's completely computer controlled. This fan will turn off when it's not needed, like on the highway, and it will wind up to close to 4,000, if not more than 4,000 CFM when needed. These fans draw a lot of current, so we run 8-gauge wires directly to the battery. We don't run power through the tip-on. That's actually how Chrysler does it on the stock Penstars, but I believe Chrysler runs 10-gauge wires. These can pull 50, 60 amps, so you want to make sure you run basically cables, not wires to these fans. So this is going to be a really nice Jeep to wheel in. This 8-speed is feeling really good off-road. It's not shifting a lot. It's picking a gear and pretty much staying there, which was one of my concerns. So we're going to run it on some of these trails, and then we'll be back.